So thank you everybody for joining in for another session. Gagan has been talking about this particular book for quite a while, and as you all know, Adam Grant has written multiple books on this particular uh, topic, and even on LinkedIn he shared even all of those snippets, small snippets or the book. All of these are very useful, and this particular book in specific, Hidden Potential. Uh, I like how Adam Grant praises each of these kinds of stuff, especially like, I mean, our aspiration where we want to go is probably dependent on the hidden potential that we have, which we may not really realize and recognize. And so how do we realize that particular thing? And then how do we put that into practice? Again, a lot of examples like because he's also a professor and a scholar, researcher. So there's a quite a bit of lot of dense examples that are in this particular book. Uh, Gagan and I were talking earlier. Gagan said, I cannot really do a justice to this book in just one session. So is it okay to have multiple sessions? I said, fantastic. We will have more sessions, not a problem at all. And I don't think anybody should have any problem. So without wasting any more time, I'm going to hand it over to Gagan. Gagan, thank you. You are on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. I'll just connect the moment and the presentation. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in today, and thank you to Joseph for giving this platform. So, is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, it is.
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Wonderful. I'll just put this on the PPT mode. Okay, so as Joseph said, Adam Grant. So Adam Grant is an author and he's also an organizational psychologist. He has written a number of books. In this forum, I have also spoken about his earlier book, which is Give and Take. Again, most of his books are bestsellers. So, Give and Take mainly deals with that in order to succeed, you need to contribute rather than compete. And the number one reason for success is when you help others succeed. So, that is the premise of this book. And the best part about Adam Grant is that he, there's no denying that this is a self-help book, but he doesn't preach you much in the book. He puts his points across through personalities, through case studies. So if you also go through his website, it says he is someone who looks into the science of motivation, of meaning, right? So that is what Adam Grant is. He is, though he's a self-help guru, but he's a self-help guru with a difference. That's what I feel. So we'll quickly start with the book Hidden Potential. Uh, so if I have to, so is my slide visible fully? Because I can see some.
No, it is fully visible.
It is fully wonderful, wonderful. So if I have to summarize this book in one slide, this would be that slide. Some of you would have heard about the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. So at the bottom, you will see Malcolm Gladwell said that 10,000 hours is what requires for anyone to succeed or become successful. And then he also mentioned that a lot of successful people start early in life. Then there was another school of thought which talked about deliberate practice. Come what may, these 10,000 hours would be futile if they are not with the intention of deliberation there. Adam Grant goes one step further. He says there are two more things that are important. One is the conditions, and second is the character skills. So character skills are nothing, no rocket science. We all know about this, like proactive, pro-social, disciplined, determined. So these are so in this book, Adam Grant doesn't delve into these aspects, but he talks about how to develop characteristics, character skills. And then last one is the conditions. Condition, a structure for sustained motivation, system for enhanced opportunity. So we'll come to it a little later, but let me let me pause for a moment and talk about uh, character skills. So, if I may ask the audience today, what are their thoughts? What is the difference between, let's say, a personality and a character? Anybody, if they can volunteer and speak up, in their eyes, how these two are different?
I have read, so I know the difference. So I'm going to keep quiet. Maybe Priya and KK can answer.
Yeah, anybody, even it's all right. Even what speak up, so it's perfectly fine.
Personality would be something innate in a person.
Right.
Maybe, empathy, sympathy, all those characters.
Sure.
But it's kind of, I'm not very sure about the character part of it. I mean, how is it different?
Very
Yeah,
interesting
perfect.
question. So far, I
Yeah,
have not
yeah,
thought about it.
yeah. Anything from Joseph from your end related to those two things? If you have not read the
No,
book, maybe.
no. Again, so somebody told me this when kind of COVID started. Uh, Tea bags give taste only when they are put in water, hot water, right? So I think that's character. What comes out in those situations, the toughest situations, that's character is what I think.
Wonderful. Khurana ji is also in. Khurana ji, we were discussing about character and personality, the
Sir,
difference between the two. Do you have any
yeah,
views on these two? How character is different from personality?
I would today like to listen to you.
Wonderful. So, Khurana ji, so this is what the book states, and I
Okay,
can, this resonates with me. What the book says. So,
okay,
book says
great.
that uh, personality is something that I do on a daily basis, um,
Okay,
uh, and character is something that comes to fruition when there is a difficult thing that is in front of me.
okay,
Uh,
okay,
I, I,
great.
I'll give you from my own life, like I'm giving this presentation, right? So
Ji.
I was on the verge of calling Joseph and telling him, please postpone it by another 1 or 2 weeks. Uh, yeah. This is what came to my mind. So this is where I felt that, okay, I've just read about character and personality in the book. Here is the time to implement that, and now I'm
Yeah,
hesitating. So that is how the book defines, and that is where we can find a lot of examples from our life, which talks about when difficult thing comes and we take a stance there.
yeah, yeah.
Anything from your lives, what you go through, where you have felt that okay, now this is something difficult, but I have to face it. Any such examples, Khurana ji, KK, or Priya, if you're there?
Yeah, so I think there are a lot of instances during work, in work as well as in personal life, right? Like where you are supposed to go through that. So early in my career, like when I started sales, I was very shy person, and I mean very not open to talking to new people, all of that. So I used to go to visit customer places. The buildings will be so gigantic and things like that. I'll be very, I'll fear for the size itself. And I visited a building, a customer building at their campus, like at least 10 times till the gate. And then I have returned back without even going inside, because that feeling of fear was so high that how can I get in, all of that. But then after a certain times, got some confidence developed, and got in, and maybe after 6 or 7 months won a deal also there. But I think that resistance to overcome was so high initial days, but I think after some point of time, I said, okay, if I have to get to the next stage, this has to happen. So yeah, so that's something which I can relate to. Uh,
Wonderful, KK. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else would like to talk about character and personality? How the two are different?
So today I was talking to Amrita, who is also a Dravidism member. Uh, so by nature, by personality, I'm an introvert and I like to keep to myself, something like what KK said. But when I became a CTO, it was mandatory for me to stand in front of everybody and talk to people. It was way too difficult for me because that's not my nature. That's not how for 25, 30 years of my career, I didn't do that. But that was expected out of me. I have to do it. CEO expected it. The team expected it. So I had to do it. Initially, it was a struggle. But later I was able to do it. And this particular session is one part of me growing up. So like so that I can talk to people and everything. So yes, that's my example.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So I think so. You all are right. I am reminded of my teenage days when I was in school. I always used to think that speaking to girls, I never had the courage to go to a girl and speak to her, even if I wanted it. So that's and as time passed, I have grown. I realized how shabby that was, right? So girls are like boys only. So there is no distinction between the two. It's all right to speak to them. So over a period of time, this realization dawned upon me. But this is something that I can relate to when we talk about personality and character. And there were other boys in the school who were quite
Gaganji,
confident. Yes, Pranav,
Gaganji,
please,
shall I add my viewpoint?
please,
Sir,
please.
I believe it is not a question of being courageous. It is more of a question of being morally courageous. If when there is a moral question, then only it is defined by the character. Otherwise, it is personality.
Very,
I
very
think
rightly. Yeah.
I think when it is a question of being honest and dishonest, when it is a question of being honest and dishonest when nobody is watching you, it is character.
Rightly said, sir. Rightly said. It is a matter,
Fantastic.
but maybe yeah, that is very well defined. Anybody else would like to share their aspects about personality and characters, maybe related to your life?
Again, the one thing that you shared, I have faced it talking to girls and talking to other genders. Uh, Even now, I think I'm a little shy away from it. But when it is needed, I have to talk. Then I don't have a problem with it. But generally, that happens. So I've gone through what you have said. Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing
yeah,
it.
yeah.
In
Okay. Yeah.
corporate life, when we bill a client, uh, sometimes we received a payment twice from the client end just because of a clerical mistake or whatever. Uh, we can keep silent and enjoy the additional money, or we can point it to the client and be honest, be character, be faithful. This is what I believe has happened so many times in our company, and we have always stood to the principle that we will point out to the client immediately so that they get it rectified and we don't get paid twice.
Agreed, Khuranaji. But there is another school of thought, if I may put quickly.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Character, sir, maybe it can also be defined as how quickly you come back to normal after
Yes,
going through a
yes,
struggle.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There
Perfect. Yeah,
may or may not be a moral element attached to it,
exactly.
but
Yes, yes.
character can also be defined like that. Anybody else would like
Yes,
to say
yes, sir.
something about the character?
So,
First, Saket.
maybe, sir, maybe we can safely give the example of Trump when he was shot at, and he immediately rose and he was looking normal despite bleeding profusely.
For sure, for sure. Trump is a very polarizing figure, so there can
Yeah.
be a lot of views about him.
Yes, that's a different thing. That's a different thing. I'm
Yes,
only
yes,
talking about coming back to normal.
agreed, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's move forward then and quickly come to the next slide. Just want to see why my slides are not moving. Hold on. I'll just reconnect my slides. Give me a moment.
Zoom is just testing your character, whether you are able to come back to normal.
Good one.
Wow.
Okay, so is this slide visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how we develop character skills. I don't know how many of you have gone through Joseph LinkedIn message where he said you need to embrace discomfort or become uncomfortable with things. So that is the starting point of character skills. That is so. The lady in the slide, her name is Sarah Maria. So if you go and check her profile, you will see that she is a language specialist. Now, and she took around 8 to 10 years to learn her first language, which is Spanish, right? And now today, if you see, she would have learned more than 10 languages uh, uh, that she can speak fluently. But there were a lot of questions that remained in Sara Maria's mind when she started. Uh, Questions were that she's starting late learning languages. Because with languages, what happens, they say that if you have to start early, maybe in your teenage times. So that was not the case. She has already passed on the college and she was starting quite late. So that was a big question in her mind. Second was that she wanted to learn Spanish, and she was not from Spain. She was not living there. So would it be comfortable? Would she be comfortable doing it? And third point was that it is a long drawn process. So these were a lot of questions that came to her mind. But she's the one, as I mentioned below, she said that I need to start before I'm ready. So she went all the way to Spain. She started living there and started doing small things to learn the language, which is to move in the street and speak to locals there. uh, Even if she felt little awkward or little discomfort or there was a lot of embarrassment, she did that, right? So that is how progress happened in life. And the first language she learned in 7 to 10 years, and then the languages started coming her way in a shorter period of time. The reason was very simple, because she said that she will dive into the uncomfortable thing, which is going to the city which is fluent in this and learning the language. So she is one of the examples that Adam Grant gives in this book, and it is quite phenomenal that how even if he, even I even went to or went online to read some of her interviews where she said that she had no she though she wanted to learn this language, but there was no help there. So she said she will dive into it. So that is how she learned. I don't know how many of you have watched the movie Father of the Bride. Has anybody watched the movie Father of the Bride? If you have not watched the movie, I would suggest that do watch this movie. The protagonist of this movie is Steve Martin. Now, when Steve Martin started his career, he was a stand-up comic, and he used to go in front of stage and speak, and people used to make like they used to laugh out loud, but also there was a lot of criticism in what he did, because he used to not have his own jokes. He hesitated to write his own jokes. Rather, he hesitated writing. Writing was something that he abhorred. He was totally against that. He said, "I won't write." But then, the time that he started writing his own jokes, his own scripts, he flourished. So that is what he writes in his autobiography, and that is what Adam Grant also says. That again, he was somebody who again went into the thick of things. He kept the discomfort at the back burner. He kept the comfort in the back burner and started doing these difficult things. So that is, these are the two examples that are pointed out in this book. So discomfort is one. Anybody would like to share any examples of when they are in thick of things, or when they don't know something and they have ventured there? Any examples would anybody like to share from your life, from something that you have read or heard?
I see new people, Vibhor, Ashwini and all, Priya Sharma. Maybe one of you can share anything?
Hi, JJ. Hi, Gagan. I'm so sorry.
Hi.
I'll try to, learn what is going on around here. So I'll probably interact then.
Okay.
Please excuse me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Anybody
So
else would like to speak? Yeah.
this
Yeah,
is something that I teach my kids. Gagan, we were talking about this homeschooling also. One of the things that I teach to my kids is discomfort is part of your progress. If you stay away from discomfort, there is no progress at all, because you can be comfortable on your bed and you will never get up, right? So recently I've started teaching them. Among the mutual funds and everything, one of the things that I've started teaching them is also pull-ups. My elder one now is very much into it, but initially, obviously, the whole arms is paining. He will say, "Pa, I can't do anything else. Even if I do one pull-up and two pull-ups, I can't do anything else. I'm not able to do anything else." I said, "That's how you will grow." And now, comfortably, he's doing 9, 10, and some days he can't just stay. He wants to go into the pull-up bar again and again and again, right? So you have to go through that particular discomfort, and I see that not only in our own lives, like on the kids, in kids' lives also. I see. So when he started learning guitar, again, he would play the guitar. His whole, all of that fingers will pain, and I can see as a dad. So I used to tell him, on one side as a dad, I feel bad for you that you're going through this particular thing. But if I would stop you, I would regret as a dad at a later point in time, because you wouldn't have grown. So
Yeah.
I know you are suffering. I know it is a discomfort for you, but just you need to put up with this. Otherwise, you are not going to grow. So that's the way I'm doing it. So that's an example that I would.
Yeah, for sure. See, we were also, while we were exchanging pleasantries when I joined, we also talked about Toastmasters. So my journey into Toastmasters, which was 10 years back, you won't believe it. Even to say a word, my mouth used to get dry, right? And I used to fumble and tumble. And it was really embarrassment going on the stage and speaking in front of the audience. But then when I jumped into Toastmasters and continued with it over a period of time, even if people made joke of generally in Toastmasters, nobody makes joke of you, but within you, you feel that embarrassment of going on stage and speaking, right? The more I did that, the more I grew as a speaker. So I think so that is what happened in my personal life, and that is what the discomfort helped me to become a better speaker. Yeah. Any other
Absolutely,
examples?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Vibhor, do you wanna share, Vibhor?
Hi everyone, this is Vibhor. So I can share some of my discomforts. Like I started learning tennis late in life. when I was around 34. And again, that's the time when you start, getting prone to injuries also. And initially it was, I faced that discomfort like for 6 months or 1 year. You're actually not very good at tennis. Like it's very embarrassing also sometimes. Like the experienced players don't want to play with you. You have to find someone who is equally embarrassing as you were, and then you progress from there. But the rewards, they were totally worth it. Like once you get a hang of it, it takes a few years. Um, it's very satisfying. It's deeply, gratifying journey. Progressing from there. Same, like recently I started learning guitar and also golf. I'm going through the similar kind of journey over there. And the thing is, like at the end of it, like you don't realize that when you're going through that pain, like how gratifying it will be later. But you have to just believe in the process and just go through it. Professionally, also, like most recently, I went through that journey with distributed computing and doing system design, and that has been also very gratifying. It opened up a whole new horizon for me. So yeah. So
Thanks,
yeah,
Vibhor.
that's all. Yeah.
So Vibhor and
Thank you.
we meet, even last week we met, we meet quite often, and we exchange notes not just on computing and software engineering, but on all other things that we are learning each other. So we exchange notes. Thank you, Vibhor.
Thank you.
Gagan, you are on mute.
Okay. So while Vibhor was speaking, I said, let me just give a pause to this slide and move to a slide which is further. Again, let's see if I'm able to. Yeah. So, Vibhor, while you were speaking about discomfort with tennis at a later stage, I will also like to talk about, because this is a cue to move to this slide, which is on the, you see that child? So, this is a marshmallow test. Some of you may not be aware of this marshmallow test. What happened is, so what they did was they put a candy in front of a child, or a marshmallow in front of a child, and asked the child to wait. If the child waits, the child will get two marshmallows. So that is what the research was. And if you see the photograph of this child, uh, you can see somewhere he's making faces, somewhere he's looking in a different direction, somewhere he's putting his hands in the mouth, and doing a lot of weird things. One of the things that Adam says is that marshmallow test, though the end result was that those who waited, for them, they did well in their life. But what this also tells us, that if you make the stressful situation playful, like this child is in a way also making things playful for him, right? Though he's waiting, though it is a big frustration for him, but he's doing a lot of activities which make things interesting. So Adam says that rather than focusing on willpower to do something, focus on reducing the stress by making that activity playful or fun, right? So that is something that I learned from this, that if there is a big mountain to climb, if I keep thinking about how big the mountain is and how would I climb it, this stress of continued thinking, rather than thinking about how good it would be to climb the mountain, what strategy I would use, or would there be people with me, what we will do on the way. So what Adam says, that try to make things more playful rather than stressful. So I will also again like to invite comments on this. Do you feel that if you make things fun for yourself, or have you ever tried to make things fun for yourself, and you felt that activity had gone well, or other ways also. If you have made something playful for yourself, but you felt the results were not as I thought them to be. So any suggestion, any comments, any thoughts, any feedback?
When I hear it, it makes sense. But one of the things that has happened, see, in this particular case, there's a very definitive time and a definitive end point for the kids that I'm saying. So, but in most of the cases that we do, there is no timeline. Like, say, for example, learning language, right? I don't know whether I learn a language in 3 months or 3 years. I don't know the timeline. I can't see that particular timeline, right? And also the end goal, whether I'll get 2 marshmallows or whether I'll get a promotion, not a promotion, I don't know that. So what I have seen sometimes when I made it really, really playful is I get distracted from the goal and I start pursuing something else. That has happened with me. So I mean that's a experience that I want to share, but I don't know whether, what others feel about it.
Yeah, anybody else would like to say something on this? So there are two school of thoughts. One is that you make things playful, but there is another school of thought that Joseph says that you may get distracted.
Well, if I may, I think both school of thoughts actually kind of merge into one, that if you are in a discomfort position or non-comfortable position and you make it playful, eventually you end up doing something which is playful to you. So even if you get distracted, you find something which is which is kind of which you kind of like doing. So eventually it is about getting something which you want to get. It may not be exactly what you aimed for, but if you are passionate enough, if you are focused enough, you will eventually get the main objective as well as secondary objective, which you may have found while you were in that uncomfortable or discomfort position while doing that job at hand. So that's how I see it. I hope it makes sense.
Absolutely, it makes sense because you're right. At the end of the day, we are able to achieve our objective by mixing the two. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, if there are no comments, then I'll quickly go back to
Like there's
yeah,
there's
please
one
go
that
ahead.
I can share.
Yeah, Vibhu.
So on the topic of making things playful, so I've had this kind of an experience with the Harvard Business School online education. Like there they have case-based study. So it was very engaging. It was very playful in a sense that you were very engaged all the time. The tests, they were very frequent. Like every 5 or 10 minutes, you had something to reflect on, and people would give you feedback on it. It was definitely easier to be learning, like when it was playful that way. Otherwise, I've for things like tennis or guitar, it's been more difficult. Like you want to believe that you're trying to make things playful, but many times you have to just log through it. Like you have to believe in the process. I don't know, like I don't have a real answer. It does make the journey easier, but oftentimes it's just a process.
So one thing that
Like
I want to
believing
share,
in it, belief helps a lot. Yeah, good.
one of the things that I want to share with respect to Vibhor, I remember Vibhor, I don't know whether you remember this. One of he in his office and under his coordination, they had a facilitation, agile game facilitation. So we were kind of doing a project management estimation thing, but the whole group made it so playful. Instead of just giving us some kind of a project and so on and so forth, they said, okay, you need to go from, say, for example, from Chandigarh to Kanyakumari to attend your cousin's wedding. what all the ways that you will go. And there were quite a lot of funny and those answers came in, but it was a lot more fun. And we eventually arrived at, different people thought in a different way. So I learned quite a bit of that, and I started attending quite a bit of facilitation exercises purely because of that. But that's one thing by which we learn. Like, gaming we talk about, make it fun so that we can learn. So I think that relates to what you were talking there.
Yeah, totally agree.
Go ahead.
Anybody else would like to say something, or should we move forward?
Go ahead.
Wonderful. Okay, so next you can see something in the middle of the screen, which is mainly a sea sponge, right? Now, I was not aware when the explosion took place. Explosion means when after the dinosaur era got extinct, only one thing was not touched, which are these sea sponge. Now, why they were not touched? Because of their inert ability. If you go to Google and you put sea sponge and you find out what are their characteristics. So their characteristics are they absorb what they require, they filter out what they don't need, and they also create biochemicals. And these biochemicals can be used by people, like they are used in cancer research also. So what Adam says that we should be like this. We should absorb things, filter out the things that we don't need, and also create things that may help others. Right. So that's a very interesting thing. Like ideally, we should do that, but do we do that? And if we don't do that, why don't we do that? So that is the big question that he poses here. So anything, Joseph, anything from your end about this aspect? So he says rather than just to copy from a sea sponge, we need to do these things. We need to absorb good things in our life, filter out the negative aspects, and create, be ingenious, and create for others.
So again, in the Gravitas Wins course and otherwise also I have talked about, I have a learning framework which I call as consume, produce, engage. So consume is where you are consuming from all the different varieties of sources, and then you need to create something. Otherwise, you might have read, you might have listened, you might have watched something. Only 20-30% of that will be in your head, but only when you start creating, the neurons are firing in your head, connecting dots between what you already know, what you've read in one particular piece, you are connecting with what you have watched with another piece, and so on and so forth. So you need to create to connect those dots. But then that's again only probably from one single perspective or a lens. Only when you start engaging what's happening here. You share something, Kuranaji challenges you, then you challenge back, because we're all coming from a different perspective and different experiences. One of the things, as I said, I was meeting Vibhor last week. One of the things that we were discussing is another book, a fantastic book. Maybe Vibhor can review that particular book, The Zen of Motorcycle Maintenance. Zen and Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Fantastic book. Though it looks like it's a motorcycle maintenance, it's a lot more about quality and life and how to live good life and so on and so forth. One of the things that he says is the definition of quality differs for us because of the experience that we have gone through. It's not that the quality is different, but quality for each of us is different because of the experience. So the point that I'm saying is that only when you engage with others, they will share their viewpoint, their perspective, and that enriches your understanding of the concept or the idea that you are talking about, right? So that's why you need to do all of that. Consume, produce, and then engage. That's how you learn, and that's how I've learned, and these are all part of that particular learning framework. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, guys.
Amazing. If I can add one thing here. So very recently I was analyzing this thing that we meet so many people in our day-to-day life, and somehow we feel okay, this person is really great, but and we try to probably analyze them as a whole. But that shouldn't be the case. When we meet people, we must pick some things that are good in them and just leave the others, the rest. Somebody who's very punctual on their schedule, but somebody who's not great ethics wise, somebody who's really great at work but somebody who is not able to manage their finances or anything. I'm just throwing random examples, but we need to pick the best from the people and try to adapt those qualities in ourselves. So I think I have also started looking at it in that way. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Priya, this is, yeah, well said. But if I can also pose another point, uh, being human, I don't know, is it with only with me or with others also? When we have a conversation with people, or when I look at people, uh, generally, first I will observe the negative qualities. Then maybe over a period of time, okay, these are the niceties also that will come in. I don't know. Maybe it is specific to me. I'm too skeptic that ways. But yes, you are right. This is something. So I don't know how does this work. That when people come, we look at their good qualities, because the first and foremost, because we all know what is the civil behavior. If somebody is doing something which is little less than civil, that we'll catch that immediately, right? And that thing will come up. Maybe, yeah, KK, please go ahead.
No, no, yeah, I think that's right if I can add more, but ignorance is a bliss in this case. I think we need to program our minds in a way that we need to start ignoring. So, a very weird example from day before yesterday. Uh, okay, please excuse me for putting this example out here, but a lady, I was sitting in a dining hall, and a lady was sitting opposite to me. She was eating her food, and she's a very nice person. However, I feel very difficult to enjoy my meal when somebody is eating with the mouth open. What could I have done in that possible time? Because I am somebody who's a foodie, and somebody who loves enjoying their meal. I was having a real hard time sitting over there trying to focus on my meal and trying to enjoy it. But for that entire 20 minutes of my dinner course, I literally told my brain that I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on eating, and I'm going to focus on having a conversation with her or anybody else sitting around me. So I started doing that, and honestly, I think last 5 minutes I could not even hear her eating her meal with her mouth open. So yeah, ignorance. Thanks. Please go ahead.
Lovely example, Priya. Uh, any, yeah, KK, please go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple of points which I thought I'll mention. So the thing that you're talking, human sponge, I'm able to relate to something in nature here in Chennai. Actually, there's a big marshland called in a place called Pallikarnai. So that marshland actually, when there is flooding, it used to be. I mean, in Chennai, it used to be like several acres. It seems several decades back, but it has shrunk now. But whatever you mentioned now here, absorb, filter, all of that. So it was doing that for that part of Chennai, and it was they were really I mean saved from floods and all of that. But now because that area got shrinked because of development, uh, people are getting affected by floods because basically that marshland has come down. And if you go through that road, you'll see that it doesn't look very attractive, but a lot of you can see it attracts a lot of interesting birds and other things. It's also a notified sanctuary, all of that. But yeah, I think the human sponge, I have not seen it, but I think this is another natural stuff that does the exact same thing. In another instance, with respect to the human thing, right? Like when you were narrating this, Gagan, I remembered this incident, right? In cricket, Saurav Ganguly removing his T-shirt and after winning the Test match, and then giving back to England, if I'm not wrong, at that point of time. So that actually was in a way a turning point for the Indian cricket team also, because we were not seen as so aggressive when it comes to matches, test matches, and etc. And then this behavior from the captain, though it was said that okay, it is not up to the standard of a gentleman's game. We are playing in England, if I'm not wrong, Lords or somewhere, and a lot of backlash also came on him. But he was just giving it back, and I think it also showed that Indian team has reached a different stage now, and we are no more the same 80s and 90s sort of a mindset that we have. And I think after that, a lot of changes have happened, right? Like I think Virat Kohli and all became too aggressive, and I think in some way he also has inspired, Saurav Ganguly also has inspired a new form of character within the Indian cricket team. So yeah, I think these two things I just thought it was so relatable when you are narrating this.
Absolutely, KK. Anybody? I think so. We have some 5 odd minutes left. I don't want to jump into some other point. We have discussed a lot of things to digest on. So if somebody would like to speak upon anything that we have discussed till now, character skills, discomfort, human sponge, most welcome.
The only thing that I want to say, again, you talked about, and then Priya has already answered it. You said, is it only me who is able to, who is having this particular thing? I think probably again, it's a discomfort that you are going through to grow into it. But I think it happens to all of us, or at least it happens with me. Is that even though I also want to kind of, you can learn even from the worst of the people. I mean, that's what I believe, honestly. But then when you are interacting with them, when the interaction is going on, it is not going to happen. And especially if the other person is coming off in an opposing manner, or in a conflicting manner, or they are trying to berate you, they are trying to put you down, they are trying to challenge you in office and all of those kinds of stuff, you are not going to have that attitude of I can learn from them. But maybe in a very jolly, in a fantastic environment, maybe it can happen. In the other things, it's not going to happen. But what I do is I come back, I do a journaling almost all days or all weeks. When I journal, I look at that particular interaction, and then I say, okay, why did I think the way I thought? Why did I behave the way I behaved? What is that I could have changed? So the learning doesn't have to be only from their attitude, their character, their behavior, and their insights, and so on and so forth, but it can also be from the behavior. This also comes from the systems theory. In systems theory, what we learn is it is not the components of the systems that matter, it's the interaction between the components that matter. The whole system, even in say for example, if you think of economy as a system, it is not the individual elements that matter. It's the interaction between these elements which matters, and which is what drives whatever that behavior the system is exhibiting. So we can learn from that particular interaction that's happening. It doesn't have to be only from that particular person, is what I want.
Yeah. So I think so. We have few minutes left. If somebody who has not spoken, if they would like to speak, we have two Priya. One Priya has spoken. If other Priya would like to speak, most welcome. Then we have Josh and Jerry. If you would like to say something, Ashwini.
Jerry is nodding his head. He doesn't want to speak, but we will take the others. Priya already spoke. I mean, the other Priya, I think she answered the first one. I don't know.
Yes, Joseph, I had answered the first one. But again, about discomfort, I have something to relate. I did a PG course probably, several years after my degree. And that, okay, after a lot of hesitation and thought, I had entered into the course. And on the first day, I find out that there was a strength of 28 people and 27 were men. And that was actually quite an alarming thing. I came to know about it only when I went into the class, and more than 50% of them were youngsters. But yes, that was definitely an eye opener because I could learn the perspectives from different categories of working professionals, and that was definitely a learning point in my life. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Well said.
Thanks. Thanks for sharing, Priya. Thanks.
So on that note, I hand it to Joseph.
Thank you. Thanks, Gagan. Thanks, everybody. I mean, what I enjoy in this, and this is what I was telling Gagan is that I want these book reviews to be very different from just saying this is what the ideas that author has. There are tons of book reviews that happened like that. Here, what I want to share is what I want to happen is this kind of an engagement where we pick up one particular idea. Even if we discuss only one idea in the whole 1 hour session, I'm absolutely fine with it. Where we take up one idea, we bring in all the different viewpoints, we share our experience, and then see collectively what we can learn. And I'm extremely happy that it has happened. And this is not the first time Gagan has done this magic. In my opinion, he's a magician from this particular perspective of facilitation. Earlier also, he was able to bring out from everybody. Everybody spoke in that session also. Today also, I think everybody has spoken except for my two boys. Everybody else has spoken. So he's a magician in that particular aspect. Thank you so much, Gagan. And I think it kind of relates to the topic of the book, which is hidden potential. The way to bring out the hidden potential in all of us, what I have seen is very rarely we ourselves can bring out the potential. It is almost always somebody else looks at us and kind of paves a way. At least in my case, that's a case. When I talk to other people, they are also saying the same thing. Oh, if not for that particular person, I wouldn't have done that. If not for my manager, I wouldn't have done that. If not my uncle who saw me doing this, I would have. So I see that particular thing always. So that's the hidden potential. Somebody else will have to kind of nudge to some extent to say, hey, why don't you do that? Why don't you speak up? Why don't you share that? It's okay if you fail. It's okay if you make a mistake. It's fine, fantastic, not a problem. I have done that. See, look at me. I'm okay now. So please do that. So when we invite others, then others also grow up. And I think that's how we will develop hidden potential. And I'm extremely glad that this is a forum where we can do that. So I'm very happy. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. We will have a second session on this. So please join that session also. Probably we will have in the last week of August. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Gagan. Thank you, Joseph.